Do you want to become a master baker with little time and money? Well, I'm here to show you how, starting with the classic favorite, banana bread. Sometimes you need tips that will help you in a fun, easy way to learn how to bake. They're a little tricky to look up. I bake all the time, especially with the holidays coming up, and I learn mostly what I know through a bunch of trial and error. And also, I'm a college student as well, so I don't have a lot of time or money to bake, but I still do it anyway. The audience will be able to understand how to save time and money when baking, learn new useful strategies to do so, and how to obtain the right tools while throwing in your own fun styles into baking whatever you're making. Baking isn't as hard as you think. It's a science, so let's get right into it. So let's start with learning how to save time and money when making banana bread. One tip is buying things in bulk. Most of the ingredients for this dessert are non-perishable and you have them when you cook anyway. This way you can have everything handy whenever you're ready to bake. In banana bread, you use very brown bananas in the recipe to make the flavor more present, so I find storing them in the freezer really helpful. An article by Kester says if you're planning to bake your bananas, you have two options: peel and cut them right away or store them whole in the freezer. When you store them whole in the freezer, you can just pull them out and run them under warm water whenever you want, and they're ready to go. You don't need to try to brown them in any way at all. You can see they're very brown, perfect for making banana bread, and they're easy to peel. Now that I've covered strategies for baking, we can talk about baking to impress large crowds of people. It's simple to present food creatively. All you need is a little imagination. You can add different things into your banana bread to make the flavors different. I'll be adding chocolate chips into this one, or you could add walnuts instead. I'll also be using chocolate frosting because it's one of my favorite, and it comes with a cute little rainbow sprinkles you can put on when you're finished. Certain baking techniques will affect how your recipe turns out. You should always sift your flour. According to an article called "What Does Sifting Flour Do?" it's a way of aerating your flour and making sure there are no lumps in it. To do this, you measure out your flour and scoop it into the sifter and just shake it back and forth until it all goes through. And you'll see there'll be little clumps and you just discard them. You should always separate your wet and dry ingredients when mixing them together. According to an article written by Decker, the primary reason for doing this is the wet and dry will interfere with each other during the mixing process, and the ingredients won't be able to mix properly. So after you've mixed them together separately, you add the dry little bits to the wet at a time, mixing in between. So I have my wet ingredients and my dry ingredients mixed separately. And when I'm ready to add them together, you take little bits of the dry and mix them together. And as it mixes together more and more, you add little bits more in. After you've finished mixing your dry and your wet ingredients, you add the bananas and the chocolate chips. Once mixed thoroughly, you then pour evenly up there into the muffin pan, and then throw them in the oven for the next 25 minutes. These tips will make your finished results look amazing, and everyone will be excited to try your desserts. Next, I'll talk about how to obtain the right kind of tools, all while throwing your own fun styles into baking. Getting the right kind of tools to bake can get expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Pretty much all of my tools I got from the dollar store. They have everything you need and can think of to bake. Although the most expensive thing you need is the electronic mixer known as a KitchenAid, but there are off-brand ones and used ones that are half the price of a branded KitchenAid. You can be creative and have fun with making your own tools. I like to make my own frosting bags. To do this, you take a Ziploc bag and you put the frosting in it, you seal it up, and then you twist it up and you cut a hole in the very bottom corner, and then you can easily pipe the frosting onto the dessert. So once they come out of the oven, it's time to decorate. So I used the piping bag I made and the little sprinkles to create a pretty little muffin. So overall, I talked about how to save time and money, use useful strategies when baking, and how to get the right tools, all while having fun. So what you should take away from this, you should understand that baking isn't hard, it's fun, and fundamentally a science. Decker wrote in his article, for baked goods to reach their full potential, the ingredients must be measured in the right ratios. So all you have to do is follow the recipe, be willing to learn, have fun, and try adding your own twists when baking yourself.